Alright, I got the procedure here on how to install this pump. And the procedure says, according to my engine, the gear lash, the amount of lash in this gear to the crank, which that's the gear that drives it from the crank. Not this gear, but this gear. This gear is the one that runs the pump. Is between 7 and 18 thousandths lash. You know, lash in the gear. Basically, if my truck, I would probably want to see it around 13 or so, maybe 12 or 13, which is in the middle of that. I would think it's 7 or 8. You would hear a lot of gear train noise. You know, it would be like this. I heard worn out pumps do that a lot. And 18 probably would sound pretty bad too. So I'm going to go in the middle. It says nominal is 13. So you want to see it close to 13 as you can get it, plus or minus a few thousandths. But there's a problem. When I put this pump up in there, you know, this thing shows in the book, it shows me using a dial indicator on the top gear. Alright, so what I got here is they want 13 thousandths on this gear to check it with that gear. But I can't get to that gear because my engine cover, my crankshaft damper, all that is in the way. The only gear I can get to is this one from the bottom. So there's lash between these two gears already, I mean from the factory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, I take the 13 and add the amount of lash that's here and then check this one to see how much lash I have to the crank. So that's what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to figure out what the lash is here and then add that to my 13 if I'm going to measure from the bottom of this thing up where I can actually get to it. Because I can't get to that gear. So let's do that first. I'm going to hold this really tight and I'm just going to really lightly turn this thing. I'm going to zero up my dial indicator. How about that? How about we do that first? And we tighten this thing up. There we go. So let's zero this out and get a good zero on it. Okay, so we were looking, let's see what the lash is already in the gearbox. And I imagine they're all slightly different, so you'd have to actually check this each time you did this. And I've got 9 thousandths, looks like. So if we want 13 on this gear to the crank, we want to see about 22 here. Plus or minus, you know, a couple 3 thousandths would be okay, according to this book or this instruction. That's what I'm going to do to my truck. You know, you should follow the book and do it the right way. Alright, so I'm writing all this down. Here would be alright, so I wrote down what this one is on mine, and it's going to be different for everybody's truck. So between these two is about plus 009. That's what I measured. And so I wrote here, to the bottom of that gear, I should get 22. You know, 0.022. So that would be my nominal. So I did that for my truck. Everybody's truck would be different than this. You know, according to how much lash was in this actual gearbox that they ordered or have on their used truck. There's a chart or a table. And it says something like 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C. Well, this one's stamped with a 2 right here. And there's something like an A, B, C somewhere or something too. And here's a whole bunch of shims. Yeah, there's a 2 right there. There's a whole bunch of shims in here. Now, according to that chart, I think you're supposed to use the different shims. And then here's where the shims go, right here. If you want to take this off of here. Alright, these shims. The shims go here, and they space the pump so that it spaces this gear. So there's like a chart you go by in the book that says 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, or something like this. You have to figure out what shim you need. And some people have told me you usually get it right on the money when you use the shim kit, or the chart, or the table and the shims. But I've had other people tell me that when they do that, it's out of spec. So you cannot trust it as far as what I'm concerned. I wouldn't trust it in my own truck just by going to some table and putting it together and not checking it. Always check it. So we're going to go grab the chart, and I'm going to use those shims to initially install it, and we'll see how close we are. How about that? That gives us a starting point, and then we'll check it. Where's it at?
Alright, so we're going to look under the engine.
For the number.
Right, here's the dampener. And here's off on the driver's side of the engine. We got a B up here.
Ah, found it.
Yeah, I had to do a little scraping with the razor blade. But that's what we're looking for.
So, I found the B on my block, stamped on my block. That would be a B here. And the pump says 2. So 2 and B should be the red shim. 0.026 inch shim. According to this paperwork. That should get us close, and then we should check it from there. Alright. So now I opened this package up. The shim package. And it came with this 0.010 shim and a whole bunch of these. These are my old shims here. I don't see no red shim unless I'm missing something here. There's a little bit of a blue on the corner. I guess maybe you have to look at the end. Blue, green. Okay, there it is. Purple, green. Where's the red shim? That's kind of a reddish tint on that one. Kind of hard to tell. Where's the other one? You have two different ones. I don't need that one. Or that one. These are my old shims here. There's one red shim. Barely can see it. It's red on the tip there. So that's this one. Or this one. That's that one. Or does it flip over? I guess they're the same. Oh, okay. They're the same. One red shim. Where's the other one? Alright, I can't tell where these shims are what. I found one with a reddish tint on the corner, but I can't find it. Here's my original shims. Let's see what they check. It says, according to this, 0.026. Here's the original one from the oil pump. It's 0.026. How about that? This one? 0.025. That one checks 0.025. 0.026. They're close enough. 0.025, 0.026. They're in between, actually. This one here, 0.026. 0.023. 0.032. 0.023. 0.018. 0.031. 0.019. Just doing a rough check. 0.032. 0.026. 0.033 or 0.032. There's a little tiny hint of red on the corner of that one, so here's the new shims that it says I should be using. And I suppose they go like so. That don't look right. Here's the shadow of that one. That's the old one. Was in there like that? Sure was. Look at that. It was in there like that. Yeah, you can see the shadow. And the other old one looks like it was over here. Yep. So I guess it just goes like that. It don't fit like that, so it's got to go like this. Just like that. That's kind of screwed. Doesn't match, but I guess they're just using it as a shim. I guess it'll work. That's how the old one came out. All right. Now that I got the right shims, according to the book, these two, let's go install it. Let's take it and crawl into the truck and put it in. I'm gonna put this oil pump on here, but we got some dried silicone here. We need to get off of here, and the thing is a little rough around the edges. There's some rust where the gasket goes. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit before I put this oil pump on. I figure I'd get a razor blade up here and a little stone and just sort of clean all this. But if we don't, we're going to have problems when we go put the oil gasket on, and it's going to leak. Also, the oil pump's not going to sit flush correctly. What do we want? We want 22, right? I'm gonna hold it to the left. We'll zero it out. Zero it out. That's the first gear. Got our 9. Yeah, got our 9,000s from our first gear. And then the second gear plus the first gear is 22. So it's right there at it. So we got so the first gear is 9, the second gear is 20. Combined, they're 22. That would tell me the second gear is 13, right where it's supposed to be. That's good. That's it. Perfect. Okay, now we checked it. What we have to do now is we have to torque the pump, or torque it all down. And I think the torque value is 41 or 42 foot-pounds. So I'm going to torque it to 41 or 42 foot-pounds. So let's go get a torque wrench. I don't like this because this was sitting like this. This is the way it goes, okay? And it'll go this way, but it won't line up. Watch. It stops right there, so it won't go in all the way. But this is the way it was, and this is the way it goes. But I don't like this because the oil gasket is going to go right on top of this thing, and there's a jump. So what's going to stop the oil gasket from leaking? I don't like that. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut this off. Cut. Alright, I cut this shim because there's no oil on this side, or you know, in between. And it looked like it was going to interfere with the oil gasket. In fact, the old one, you can see where the old one did. There's a shadow. So I'd cut this one back, man. I don't want my oil gasket to leak. I may not have leaked, but that's just me, man. I'm picky. So I cut it back, trimmed it back so it won't interfere with the oil pan gasket. Put this thing together. You know, that hit me square in the forehead.
That's how it always happens.
Oh. Oh, that was funny. Cut. Alright, book says 41 foot-pounds. We're going to make it 41 foot-pounds. Let's get her started. Yep, that feels like about 41. Get my human torque wrench skills out here. Torque wrench. That's it, Chief.